What are some myths that, we talked about men. So what are like some myths that you think that are in the African American community that we kind of can get away from?
I think that they feel like, oh, like again, anger is one of the main things. So I'm just gonna bring this up because I just watched this episode last night. I don't know if you watched Zatima, but I love that show.
I'm behind.
So I won't give you a spoiler, but it just kind of touch base on what you're saying. Like, so for instance, Zach, the young gentleman, is going through some things and he's dealing with a lot because of PTSD, of childhood traumas that he never even had the chance to face and to be able to express everything. And as a Black man, it's kind of like, oh, I have to suppress these feelings. You're a man, man up. Men don't cry. Don't be upset. Like, get over it. So they actually had a mental health professional, a therapist, come in and talk to him. And he's kind of like, I don't need a shrink. I don't need you shrinking me. I don't need you to do these things. But he finally was able to sit down and listen at a point, even though when he didn't want to, he listened to him, even though he got angry at the guy afterwards. But I think it was more so of listening and taking in, dang, you're really sitting here reading me and everything that I have going on from not knowing my father, or my mom abandoning me at 7 years old because she chose drugs before she chose me. So now here I am in my soon to be marriage because I'm engaged, and I'm taking out all of the things like my fears on my fiance. I'm afraid that my fiance is going to leave me and be with someone else. And his level of trust is affected because he never dealt with his childhood traumas. And women, I just feel like they think that, oh, we're angry Black women. We're just always mad and angry. But that's not the case. Internally, sometimes we deal with things. And for myself, I went through, still in therapy. I love my therapist. Yeah. She's amazing. But when I went through a divorce, it was hard on me. It was hard on, like, literally, we were separated for 2 years. But before we even actually was like, okay, we've been separated this long. It's time to go through the divorce process. But then that process, I feel like it made it 10 times harder for us because it was like a bunch of anger. There was some things going on. And then here I am, and I'm dating, and I'm with somebody. I've been separated now almost 3 years, and I'm dating somebody. And I had somebody who grew up and had that loving household, two-parent household. I didn't have that. I had just my mom. But, with my dad growing up, my dad was on drugs really bad. And I am super proud of him to know that he can come from that and be where he is now to have his own agencies. But it took for my partner to say to me, hey, listen, you're snappy. I can't say anything. Even with my daughter, like, you're just on edge all the time. You have to be able to talk to somebody because neither one of us deserve that. It could have went left if had I not had a person to be able to that care about it. So like I said, I'm in therapy, but I also work with people. And I don't think that I will be able to work with people and be able to be the best version of me to help somebody else if I was still in that same space that I was in way back when I was doing the whole thing with my divorce. Like, I literally felt like, again, I grew up. You don't need to talk to nobody. You'll be fine. Write it down or whatever. My daughter's 8. She's in therapy. She loves it. That's her human diary. Like, I just think that people need to be more open to it and more understanding that you're not a weak individual. You're not the only one. There's the world. There's so many people out here that is in therapy. And it helps you get to the best version of you. So I encourage anybody, whether it's anxiety, depression, like that, it doesn't have to be you're on the high spectrum of mental health or you're having to take medication. Sometimes it's having that person to vent to and to talk to that's not going to be biased, that doesn't know and can really dig deep on the actual root and cause of everything that you're going through. And once you start breaking down those walls and barriers, you'll feel yourself. It's almost like you have correct, and it feels amazing. And I like to see it even with my clients. Like, when I first get clients when they're in mental health skill building, is one of the programs. You have them for a little while, and when you have them, it's an amazing feeling to know that when I got this person, they were this way, but here it is, we're 6 months down the line, and I see a whole nother person blossom. And one of the things, they always say that flowers can't grow in the dark, right?
Mm.
So it's kind of like when you get outside of that, or people feel like that they're a flower in some cement, but then you burst through it. It's almost kind of like I feel that, and it makes me feel good to be able to help my clients to get back to where they used to be at. They always say, I don't know if I can ever be back to that point. Like, I'm at the worst point that I've ever been in my life. And I've been there. So I know you feel like, am I ever going to get out of this dark space? And then you get out of it and you feel good. Yeah. So I encourage anybody.
I would agree. And I was having a conversation with someone, and I said, finding the right therapist is like a relationship. It may not work for you. When my mother first passed away, they just threw me in therapy. Yeah. Like I didn't have no say in who my therapist was. And my therapist didn't look like me. So I didn't feel like we related. Yeah. And I stopped going. I didn't go back to therapy for like 6 years. Yeah. And so I finally said, okay, I want to go back into therapy. I still haven't, worked through my grief. Grief is not linear. No. I'm like, I haven't worked through my grief, and I researched all these different therapists, and I finally found one, and, she looked like me. She was young, she focused on what I needed, along with some other things as well. And without her, I would say my mother passed away in 2012. I didn't go back to my mother's gravesite until 2019, and that was with the help of therapy. And I'm glad you said that about looking like you, because that matters. Absolutely. And finding the right therapist and the right person matters. It definitely makes a difference in your healing journey. You can't do it with somebody who you feel like can't relate to you or can't understand exactly what you're going through. So that's amazing. Yeah. So I was, I love my therapist. I haven't been in a while. But I was like, yeah, I need to go back. And I didn't always go because something was wrong. Right. I went because I just wanted to update her. I felt like my therapist was like, that's my girlfriend. Like, hey, you know, what's going on this month, or this week? And it was sometimes where I needed to lean on her a little bit more and get those tools, but it's really helpful. And I think with Black men, I've started to see that more Black men are going to therapy, and that makes me happy. I love it. I love it. Like, it makes me happy. I'm like, and I see more Black men are becoming therapists, which is like, yes, we need that, because especially with Black men, just like we need Black women that look like us. They need Black men that look like them. Absolutely, it makes them feel more comfortable with going and speaking to somebody. And with my grandmother and them, and with my mom, I understand, because at that time you may not have had, it was probably slim to none. Right. It makes me happy to be able to go on Google and type in Black therapists, and you get a whole long list that you can choose from. Yeah. You can and see what they specialize in. Like, it's good. It's different, and I'm proud of us as a generation to be able to go in and change the narrative of things to make people who look like us understand and know you're not alone. You're not by yourself. We here. We got you. So I definitely appreciate it. I'm sure we can go on and on and on. Absolutely. About this. But before we end, how can people reach out to you, your business? How can someone become a client? So I am in the beginning stages of it, but I love it. So currently right now I am accepting 2 assurances. I'm still working on getting the rest. I'm really not that big. It's myself, a clinician, and one other person that's working. So stay tuned. Okay. I'm just waiting to build it up a little bit more. Right now, like I said, I'm still in the field. I keep telling myself, I'm not going to be in the field much longer. Once I get, I start hiring a little bit more, but I like being in the field. I like to be able to see that I'm making a difference. So we'll see. But I can definitely update you. Yes. Well, thank you for this conversation. It's been amazing. Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. All right, so now we have Regina here, who is an educator, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Salutations. My name is Regina Frazier. I am a current Doctor of Philosophy student at Virginia Commonwealth University, and I've worked in education for the majority of my career in pre-K through 12 atmospheres in the public school system, and I am reaching out into higher ed in my doctoral studies and in my career.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Absolutely, Sarah.
So let's talk about mental health teachers in the building and like the level of respect that teachers get.
Oh my gosh. Well, just as a society, we don't necessarily respect our teachers the way they should be respected. And a lot of times we don't realize how much work they do. When we say it takes a village, it truly takes a village to raise our children, and you need